Good evening, gentlemen. Wonderful weather. I thought I should talk to you about Ukraine, and that's not something that is wonderful because it is heralding a world war. And now, to compound it, we have Finland, which has joined NATO, and that, in my opinion, is the beginning of Armageddon. As you all know, the Bible has forecast the last war between good and evil, and this is the matchstick that is going to light the bonfire. That is what? The joining of NATO by Finland. Now, I have not been able to understand what is the background of Finland joining NATO. This appears to be a preposterous step, something like committing harakiri. You all will remember the famous Japanese novel written by Yukio Mishima, You Only Live Twice. Once when you're born and once when you die. I think Finland believes in that and now they are going to die. Now, Finland is a very small country population wise. It's got about 5 million people, which is very small, and a standing army of 23,000. They have some reservists also, but they do not constitute a formidable force. And if Finland joins NATO, NATO is going to get nothing from Finland except a liability to defend it. Because there's an article in the North Atlantic Treaty Organization which says that an attack on one country will be treated as an attack on another. But that was all right during the conventional days. The conventional war was there. It's not valid now. The so called MAD, mutual assured destruction, is not valid because Russia, which is now going to have a border of 800 kilometers with Finland, is 40 or 50 times the size of Finland. And Finland will not stand against Russia. And the Finns must ask themselves, what is their purpose of joining NATO? NATO is not going to defend them. They're not capable of defending them. Well, NATO's tried its level best in Ukraine, and you know what's happened? They're getting nothing but defeat. And Zelensky's army is falling back, demoralized. And nothing much can be done by the Anglo-Saxon powers. The American plan has totally failed. That is the crux of the issue. And people must think about it, at least the Finn leadership to think, as we say in Punjabi, an old statement, here they move which hatpana. This is what the Finns have really done. That is, they put their hand in the lion's mouth, and the lion is going to bite it. The Finns must realize that Armageddon or World War III is on the way. Earlier, I was a little diffident, not confident that the war will take place, but now I am pretty sure that the Third World War is going to take place and it will be a nuclear strike ultimately. And the question which the Finns must ask tomorrow, if the Russians nuke Helsinki and some of the places in Finland, are the Americans or the French or even the British going to rain a nuclear rocket fire on Russia? Are they going to do it? I don't think so, because that would mean the end of American and British civilization. After all, you shouldn't forget what Nikita Khrushchev, first secretary of the Soviet Communist Party in 1961, had said. What had he said? He had said, all I need is 5 to 6 thermonuclear bombs and England will cease to exist on the world map. That's what it is. And even those Indians who have run away from India and gone to England are going to be in serious trouble. England is finished as a world power and just cannot exert anyway. And to think that they can fight a conventional war with an army of 80,000 soldiers, that's a fantasy. It doesn't exist. So, gentlemen, the Finnish leadership has taken a decision which is going to lead to the destruction of Finland. As I've already said, World War III is on the anvil. It is going to take place. I'm pretty sure about it. And Macron and the German Chancellor are just beating the drum the wrong way. Macron has made a visit to China where he has pleaded with the Chinese to stop the Russians. Well, you can plead to stop the Russians, but you don't want to tell the Americans to stop fueling the fire in Ukraine. So that shows the dichotomy, the double-edged face of the French president. The French, as it is, have lost their empire. They're no longer a global power. They're a regional power confined to Western Europe. And they still have pretense of being a big power, like the British. And the British, the economy is even behind India now. They are lagging. There is shortages in England. And despite Rishi Sunak having come, who's an Indian, as a Prime Minister, England are not going to go forward. It's only slide backwards. The Germans have a strong economy, yes, but militarily they're zero, because they have been following a policy of not building up their army to the strength like the way Hitler had done during World War II. And most of the German defense in the hands of the Americans, who have got about 50,000 troops in Germany. Now, what are the use of those troops? I mean, I had asked once an American officer, what's the use of these troops standing there? What have they done? Because now, one thing is very clear, after the disastrous retreat in Afghanistan, which, as you know, is the mother of all retreats, and also leaking their chops after they had to run away from Iraq after winning a Pyrrhic victory, America is not going to enter into a physical confrontation, a physical battle in which the American soldiers will die. That being the case, keeping the 50,000 troops there has got no relevance. Otherwise, these troops would have intervened in Ukraine. Zelensky has been propped up by Joe Biden, and he had addressed the Congress, he addressed the EU Parliament, and he was that time moving around as a very big man, wearing a jacket and talking all big things, Mr. Zelensky. And I already pointed out to you, he's not a man in shining armor. His name had featured in the Panama Papers. He's got property stacked up in London, Leeward Islands, and all sorts of places. His family is not in Ukraine. So what next? That is the question now. And now the mastic has been lit. Finland has decided to commit harakiri. Harakiri was a way of ritual death, which the samurai used to do in Japan. I wonder if you've seen the movie Samurai, one of the finest movies, of the Last Samurai. I mean, that was the name of the movie. And this was a wonderful movie in which the man finally has to commit harakiri and dies. And that is the principle also of You Only Live Twice, which Yukio Mishima wrote. And by the way, Yukio Mishima himself committed harakiri in a sense. He committed a ritual death. Now, these are philosophies. We are not here to discuss this. But I'm just giving an example here as to what really is happening in Europe. And people have forgotten that the First World War and the Second World War started like this, like the same way. The First World War started when the Archduke was shot dead and Turkey wanted to reassert itself, that is the Ottoman Empire, and Germany, Kaiser Wilhelm, wanted to break the blockade of England and take over the world. And then came the Second World War, where again the blunders were committed all over, and the Japanese were provoked into fighting a conflict. You all know what happened. America had declared a trade embargo on Japan, and the net result was the Japanese had fuel only for 7 days. And what happened after that? What happened? War broke out. The Japanese Imperial Cabinet decided that we have to fight America. So the match was lit by Roosevelt and his party. And the same thing happened in Germany, which became the playground of dictators with Mussolini and Hitler in charge. And even later on, General Franco came in. So, gentlemen, the epicenter of the last two world wars were Europe. And there's no reason why it's not going to take place now, because one thing is very clear. the Russians are not going to allow an essentialist threat to their existence. And this is what NATO has been planning from the time of Bill Clinton. That is the time when the application of to join NATO from Zelensky was quietly shelved with the lecture, don't worry, we're going to expand eastwards. But at that time, precisely 6 years later, they expanded eastwards. And even the small countries, like Hungary, Estonia, Latvia, Poland, I don't think these countries have realized that by joining NATO, they're going to get nothing. NATO is a paper tiger. Well, so long as nothing happens, everybody's confident. Yes, NATO is going to do something, NATO is going to defend us. But actually, NATO is a paper tiger. It's not fought a war for the last 78 years. And once you have not fought a war, your efficacy in real battle is very different. And Europe is an aging population. You don't forget that. There are more older people than younger people, and such a society cannot fight a war. Even Finland, the birth rate is declining. The population is declining. So is Sweden, and they are getting people from the Muslim world to come and do all the menial jobs. The birth rate of the woman is 1.1 when the minimum requirement is 2.1. So Europe demographically cannot fight a war. That is the crux of the issue. And yet, these people have been needling the Russians for no rhyme or reason. I've gone through the various videos and lectures of John Mishima, and I'm very, very happy that I listened to him. He's a man who has a grasp of history, and he's made out very clearly that the Americans provoked the conflict in Ukraine. They wanted it that way, and they thought they'll corner the Russian bear, destroy Russia, maybe break it up into another 2, 3 countries and get their hegemony for the next 100 years. But then there is a man who is in charge, and he's Vladimir Putin. He's not in the class of Joseph Stalin, no doubt about it, sir. He's not that. But he's held Russia together, and he's intent on restoring the glory of the old Soviet Union. It's not going to happen. See, the old Soviet Union was a very big place, and now that is broken up into also 18, 20 countries. You can't get them all together. But at least he can make an attempt, take some of the portions, and Ukraine is the biggest slice in the pie. So that he would like to take it, and he's taken about 30% of the territory, and now the Russian army will move to Odessa. Gentlemen, coming back to Finland, I am really surprised that the Finns should have joined NATO. They were neutral for 78 years, though they don't have good relations with the Russians. They never had. They fought the Second World War against the Russians, and they had joined up with the Germans. Later on, they defected in 1944, and the Russians said, okay, we'll be with you, but you will denazify. And so they did that. And they continued. But now, ever since the Russian invasion of Ukraine, the Finn leadership has been on tenterhooks. And they're just 5.5 million people. I mean, they got vast tracts of barren land in the Arctic and other regions which are not inhabitable. And I do not know what they're going to gain by joining with Ukraine, the NATO, because as I've already pointed out, NATO has done nothing anywhere. NATO is not a fighting force. And NATO, if it unleashes even one nuclear device, it's going to be kaput, the end of Western civilization, which has been nurtured for the last 1,000 years. It will be the end of that. The countries of Europe are so small, some of them just equivalent to a few districts of a big country like India or China, they won't survive. You think small countries are going to survive? Maybe Switzerland will survive because it's neutral. And the Italians are also very wary of getting into battle on this issue. But the other countries who are egging on, like Poland, Lithuania, Latvia, now Finland, they will be wiped out from the world map. I must say, this is a very disconcerting news. It's not something which people will like to listen to. And I'm sure the Americans who are listening to me will realize that they don't want to listen to this because they believe in everything is honky-dory going on. America is a big country in the world. America was the land of milk and honey, and the way they have treated Donald Trump now, It shows that they are a decadent society, like the Roman civilization. And what's going to happen next? Just as the Roman civilization collapsed, America is also going to collapse. And the seeds have been sown in the battle in Ukraine, and now people like countries like Finland join NATO. Well, I don't know what to do, whether I should die laughing on a bed of nails. I really don't know. I'm starved. And there's another country waiting to join, and that is Sweden. There's been some problem in joining because they burnt the Quran there, and Turkey's put an embargo on Sweden joining. But the Turks themselves are dreaming of becoming another empire like the Ottoman Empire. They're not going to become. Never. It's over. The Ottoman Empire is history. It never achieved anything significant, and it's not going to do, and the Turks are not going to do anything now. The best thing for Turkey is to look for survival, and they have got nuclear weapons of the Americans stored on inside Turkey. Why did they allow it? The Russians are on a strong wicket, gentlemen. The war in Ukraine is going to be in their favor. And once that happens, and the Western world, in any case led by the Americans, would like to stop the Russian victory, so it can go up to an extreme. And the extreme is the next step in retaliation by Russia of a nuclear explosion, and then there's going to be World War III. Earlier, as I've already pointed out in my video, I was not sure that Armageddon will take place, but now I'm pretty sure. With Finland joining NATO for no rhyme or purpose, it's live and let die. That's what it's doing. Finland is going to die. And that is a sad part of the whole thing. Gentlemen, I had wished that peace would remain in the world. But it looks like to be one of the elusive commodities, and there's no doubt that the American hegemony must be finished. There is no doubt in my mind on that. And until you finish the American hegemony, the world will not be safe, because America is the country which has engineered the maximum conflicts in the world. I'll talk about that in another video. In the meanwhile, gentlemen, I'll say goodbye to you. Jai Hind. God bless you all, and glory to India. Do subscribe to my channel, share it with your friends. I come back again, listen to me more, because I'm not giving you the news, I'm giving you the analysis. And so long, take care, and God bless.